Congee. Now there's so many different ones, there's too many to look at, but what I'm going to do is make a congee with a medium grain rice. And the trick with congee to get it nice and sort of smooth and silky is to soak the rice for about an hour or so, an hour and a half. Just a little bit of water in there, just give that a mix around with your finger and just let that soak. And what that does, when you actually cook it, it becomes nice and silky.
Okay, look, I love congee because, I mean, it's something that you can have at breakfast time, which is quite an interesting thing. I think it's good to have a savoury breakfast, gives you good energies for the day as well.
They don't have much Cocoa Pops in China. But what I'm going to do is a beef congee. So I'm going to actually cook some beef ribs. I mean, you can use anything for congee, but for me, I'm going to make some beef ribs. I'm going to make a stock with the beef ribs, and I'm going to let that simmer away for about an hour or so until I put it together. So I'll get started with my dish, and then you'll be able to get into yours. Now, what I've got here is some beautiful Australian beef rib, a little bit of marbling in there. I've got a little piece of, this is a piece of the flank that sits on the top. This is cheap. This is really cheap, you know, bone in there, a bit of meat. But when this cooks nice and low and slow and we simmer it away, the meat will just fall off the bone. The stock will help to flavour the congee and give it a great beefy taste. And the meat will just pull apart and flake it in it. So it's like a rice porridge.
Yeah, that's exactly what congee is.
With meat in it, yeah? There we go. Now, what I'll do is get you to chop up that celery there and the lemongrass into nice sort of chunky bits. Whenever I'm making a stock, Zoe, I like my veggies to be quite chunky because it's going to simmer for quite a while. With a beef stock, you know, you can let it simmer for 4 to 6 to 8 hours, but, you know, a chicken stock a lot less than that.
Great.
Now, with my garlic, I get a whole head of garlic like this, and I just cut it straight in half like that.
That's great.
You get all that beautiful Australian garlic smell goes straight into the pot, all the way in there like that. And carrot, I just chop it through the middle here like that. The idea is to get as much flavour out of all these vegetables as possible while it simmers away. So when I cook it with the rice, it all comes together and has that beautiful beefy flavour.
Now, do you want me to bang this lemongrass or just chop it up?
Just chop it up, it's fine. Just give it a couple of nice pieces and I'll grab this celery here without getting my fingers chopped off. Now into here I'm going to put a nice amount of water. This should cover the bones and the vegetables. Now as this simmers away, Zoe, you get a little bit of foam comes to the top of it. Skim that off and let it simmer away. You might get a bit of fat there, which you can always take off, but I like to leave some of that fat on there. Zoe, that's the flavour. So a little bit of salt in there, a little twist of pepper, which will help to flavour it, and there we go. That'll take a little bit of time. I'll put this on at the back there. It'll give us time to clean this up and we'll get on with your dish.
Fantastic. So Adrian, I'm going to cook a wild rice and millet pilaf, which is classically a Middle Eastern dish, but you do see it around Central Asia as well. It's interesting because the wild rice, it's a really great rice to use. It's a beautiful texture, it's full of B vitamins and it's low GI. Now what I've done is I've cooked it with hulled millet. So let's get started with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to saute some onion, some leek and garlic. So just half the onion is perfect.
And crush the garlic for you as well.
That'd be great. And, oh sorry, do you mind passing me a knife? Thank you.
There we go.
Great, awesome. So I think it's really important that when you are using something like wild rice, the flavour really does need to come from all the other key ingredients as well, because it's a great way to just absorb beautiful textures and beautiful flavours.
Now, Zoe, I've seen how they harvest rice in Canada. They actually go through the wild rice fields in their canoes, and they have a little, they pull the wild rice over the top of the canoe and they tap it.
I've heard
so the rice
this.
falls into the canoe. It's amazing.
I mean, it's ingenious to think of how these people actually invented something like that in the first place. I mean, who thought to do that?
I would have just gone with a canoe and gone and got some fish or hunted wild boar, but if you want to get some rice as well.
Well, I mean, look, it's eaten in so many different cultures and so many different countries. And I think the one thing, people get a little confused because we all think that rice is bad. That's not true. We need carbohydrates in our diet. It's really important. They're a brilliant energy source. But it's all about volume and understanding that you don't really need more than maybe half a cup to a cup even at the most of cooked rice. And there's so many great rices out there. You've got basmati, which is low GI. You've got wild rice. All rices are not created equal. So shop around, find the one that suits you best.
Right, the big pile of rice is not what you want, especially the fried rice with lots of pork in it and oil and those sorts of things.
Well, it's interesting. My sister-in-law is, she's Chinese-Malaysian, and when we go over to her family's house, the banquets they do are amazing. I get so excited to go there, but rice is never the huge dish that we often have at, you know, the Chinese restaurants or the Thai restaurants. It's always just a small accompaniment. So I'm going to give this...
I love the onion and the leek in there. Just sweat that off for a little bit.
Yep, so I'm just going to sweat that for a little while. And what I thought I'd also add, just to give this a little bit of difference in its flavour, which is sort of the Middle Eastern. I'd add some cinnamon in there as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so
lovely.
something a little different to maybe what you would normally have in a rice dish. But again, it's a great flavour and just a great way to add a little element of difference.
I love that you've got lots of veggies in there. And, you know, I love rice, I love eating it, but lots of flavour in there as well, which is really important. You've got some mushrooms and zucchinis. I just took it upon myself, because I had a look at your recipe, to slice them nice and thin so it goes all the way through.
That's exactly the way we want it. Now, the thing is, you don't have to use the vegetables I've chosen. I just think these have got a great flavour to them more than anything else. And I have also used chicken in this dish as well, so it's something that I'd add in at the end.
Beautiful.
Because, again, it's lovely to have that balance of protein. And if you are someone who is concerned about their consumption of carbohydrates, a really good thing to do is make sure you've got some protein there as well, because what it does, it lowers the glycemic index. You feel more full, you feel more energised, and, you know, it tastes good.
Makes it healthy. Now, this seems like the sort of dish that would be great to, I mean, I call it empty the fridge. You know, if you go into the fridge and you find some carrots that are nearly sort of wobbly and bits of celery and anything that's sort of in there, you can put into this dish. It doesn't really matter with these ingredients.
Matter. It's exactly it. All right, so I'm going to fold in the cooked rice. So you cook this exactly how you would normal rice. So it's just, if it's a cup of rice, it's 2 cups of water. That's just the absorption process. So I'm going to fold that through.
Oh, beautiful. I just love the look of it. Instead of your regular type of rice, it actually looks very, very interesting, you know, with the millet and the wild rice in there. And the thing about wild rice, and I know I've cooked it in kitchens before, you can have, say, 1 part of regular rice and maybe half a cup of wild rice.
Look, I find that it's something I've always got in my cupboard because I think it's a great addition.
I bet you have, yeah.
You should see my cupboard. It's got all the healthy stuff. A couple of the indulgent things in there, you know, we're all human anyway. But I like to actually have this dish as a main dish. So it would be maybe one of those days I'd like to have a completely vegetarian day. It's perfect because it really is filling, because all of the things, like the wild rice, they're very slow burning, so they keep you full for a really long time.
Energy all day.
All right, so let's add the zucchini and the mushrooms. And I'm going to add a little bit of that cinnamon.
I like the cinnamon, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's just something, you know, I'm always about adding as much flavour as you possibly can to food without complicating it too much.
Here we go.
All right, thank you. Now,
I'm loving this. I mean, with the mushrooms and zucchini especially, there's a lot of moisture that comes out of them. So that's going to help to flavour it up as well.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing I always love is how Middle Eastern dishes use lots of nuts. So I've got a selection of different nuts that we're just going to toast slightly.
Do you want me to put them on the tray for you?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Some sunflower kernels. I know when you're putting lots of nuts in it like this, I know it's really sort of healthy. Yeah.
Well, look, I'm a big fan of nuts. They're a great source of protein, and obviously they're a really good source of essential fats. But it's more about flavour. They taste really good. They have that nuttiness, that smokiness after we've grilled them, and it's just an easy way to add extra flavour and volume to the food that you're eating.
I'd love to be able to open that thing.
Come on, give them to me. It's always.
Sorry, I can't open that. You need
a woman's touch that always works well. Oh, in saying that.
It is a hard packet to open. There we go. That's what keeps it nice and fresh. There we go. You want to get some scissors to open that up? Come on, Joe. That's
there we
it.
Go.
There's a woman's touch for you. Oh, that looks lovely. This looks like the bird seed I used to feed to my parrot. But parrots live for a long time, and this is what they eat. So maybe there's
lucky parrots is
there's
all I
some
can
goodness
say.
in it. There we go.
All right, so I've just got the grill on. Keep your eye on the nuts because basically they do cook really quickly, and then we can plate this all up.